What's up, everybody? It's Del. Welcome to Del on Movies. And today we're going to talk about the four movies that I watched for Huck's 52-week movie challenge. Huck is Huck over at Huck's Pop Culture Cafe, of course. And he puts out the challenge at the end of the previous year, right at the beginning of the current year, on types of movies you should watch to fulfill this challenge for each week. And he's got a whole list of them. I will show the list as best I can over here or there somewhere. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the four movies that I watched. And we're going to start things off with week one, which was to watch a Rob Reiner film. Rest in peace to Rob Reiner, who recently passed away, of course. And the movie of his that I decided to watch was When Harry Met Sally. I had never seen that movie somehow. Um, I know how actually. I kind of avoided the movie forever. It just seemed a little too corny, a little too cheesy. Uh, from my younger days, it came out when I was a young dude, and all I was into was action and number at that point. So and martial arts, and that's when it came out. Now I'm a little older, a little more mature. I can handle a little more things, have a lot more empathy. So I decided to watch When Harry Met Sally.
How do you expect me to respond to this?
It was good. I enjoyed the movie. I thought the chemistry between our two leads, Billy Crystal, of course, and Meg Ryan. And if you're not familiar with the story, they meet when they're both in college, and there's like some move from one campus to another. eh, They ride together even though they don't really know each other beforehand. Their mutual is Billy Crystal's, his character's girlfriend. He's Harry, of course. His girlfriend is a friend with Sally. They hop in the car and ride together, and they really don't like each other, but over the years they keep running into each other, and eventually relationship and rom-com stuff, right? I really did enjoy the movie. I thought that they both did a great job. They had great chemistry. My issue with the movie, though, in the end, is that I never really fully bought in to Billy Crystal's character as having changed enough to to warrant Sally wanting to be in a relationship with him, especially since she's around for a lot of things that are unpleasant. Not maybe not unpleasant. Maybe not the maybe off-putting might be the best word, considering all the things that she's told him every time they meet, all the things that she knows about him.
You are a human affront to all women, and I am a woman.
I never really fully bought that he changed enough to warrant what happens at the end. Nevertheless, it's still a good movie, still enjoyable, has its funny parts, though I wouldn't really call it a ha ha hilarious funny movie. Though, like I said, it has its parts, and most of the best comedy comes from Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby. Those guys give me the best comedy in the movie, whereas Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, they handle the romance part, and it works. Overall, good movie. Not necessarily one of my favorite rom-coms. That one scene aside, if you don't know the scene I'm talking about, that is a great scene in the diner when Meg is uh, proving how easily things can be faked. So
Yes! 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 Ah! Oh! Oh, yes!
go out and check it out. If you have not seen When Harry Met Sally, that was my first movie of the 52-week challenge, and I am very glad that I watched it. Um, on to week two. Week two was to watch a movie that had a one-word title, and the movie I picked is called Dreams. This is a film by, let me get it over here away from the glare. Let's see if you guys can see that. There it is. Dreams. It's a film by Akira Kurosawa, who is legendary Japanese filmmaker. Most people know him as the director of Seven Samurai. Of course, he recently came back into the spotlight with for his movie High to Low because Spike Lee did the remake Highest to Lowest. And this movie is one I had never seen, and I have it in my collection. As you can see, I'm put up once more. It's a Criterion movie that I acquired. This one I didn't actually buy. One of my subscribers actually gave this movie to me, so I have it here, never seen it, and I need to get my Kurosawa game up. I haven't seen a lot of his movies. I've seen High to Low, I've seen Seven Samurai, and I've seen Rashomon, and now Dream. So that makes four. I need to watch more, and I will be. I have Rand back here somewhere in the collection. But anyway, Dreams though is a late entry into his filmography, coming out in the 80s. Taking a quick look, this came out in 1990, so a 90s movie. I'm not sure if it was his very last movie or not, but it was definitely late in his catalog, as every movie of his that I've seen came out in the 60s and earlier. So this one, we have 8 vignettes, all directed by Kurosawa. So it's not a full on anthology with different directors and anything like this, but they all play with the idea of dreams. Excuse me. They all play with the idea of dreams, and as such, the movie plays as a fever dream. It is a pretty interesting, pretty weird movie. Lots of wild things happen. In the end, though, it's most like a dream in that it doesn't really go anywhere. Like, I mean, there are some things that Kurosawa was trying to say through these things, through these dreams. There is some commentary that happens, but it never really gels together into a cohesive whole. So it's not one of those movies where uh it's all coming together to say the same thing. It's not really doing that, right? Some vignettes might be saying one thing, another one might be saying another thing. The one common theme that kind of runs through everything is a respect for nature. And we deal a lot with the afterlife. And I'm imagining, again, that's a product of Kurosawa being much older by the time this is made. And again, lots of interesting things happen. But it's not a movie that I could find myself like constantly going back to. I may go back to it just because I want to analyze it more thoroughly, and maybe I would come to a different understanding. As it stands, it is a pretty solid movie to watch. Just not one I would recommend to everybody because of how different a movie it is, for most of us, at least for most of us in my community, right? Our community, people who watch me on a regular and that I watch on a regular. If you're into a little more artsy stuff, then Dreams is definitely one you can get a lot of enjoyment. And went on to week three. When I went on to week three, though, came back down to earth, I suppose, in a way, in that this movie's a little more grounded, even though it's a sci-fi horror kind of movie. And this was to watch a movie that takes place primarily in one location. All right, this entire movie does not take place in one location, but the bulk of it is. It's bookended by some scenes that are not in that location. That location is a supermarket, and this was the one movie that I watched during this month's group of movies that I have seen before. And the reason I watched it was because I wanted to introduce it to my daughter and try to traumatize her. She's an adult, so relax. I'm not going to traumatize her, but so much with the movie. And the movie is The Mist. And if you are familiar with The Mist, then you know that the ending is what knocks the wind out of most viewers. Bunch of people trapped in a supermarket, and there's, of course, it's all misty and foggy outside. You can't see but a foot in front of your face. And there are apparently monsters that are coming out of the mist and doing a lot of damage to folks, right? These people have barricaded themselves pretty much in the supermarket as best they could. Even, front is all glass, like a lot of supermarkets are. um and of course, then we got a kind of Lord of the Flies kind of thing taking over, where a bunch of factions, different form, but everybody's trying to be the leader. And humanity gets the best of itself pretty much for a large chunk of this movie, along with the monsters coming in. And I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody has not seen it. I will say that by the end of the movie, I really like the movie. I think it's an excellent movie. Um, and it's grown on me, so maybe it'll grow on my daughter too. But I was disappointed with her reaction, and her reaction was, "It's okay." And so no trauma, no nothing like that. So again, maybe if she watches it again down the line, and maybe hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod, after she, goes on a little more in life and has a family of her own outside of an old man like me and her mom, of course, an older lady. So we're both older to her anyway, right? So when she has her own children, especially, I think a movie like this might hit differently for her. And this is me projecting also, right? I'm hoping I'm hoping that that's the case, but as it stands, I still really enjoy the miss. She thought it was okay, and since I brought up my wife, I'm going to say my wife is not a horror fan, but she started off watching the movie with us, and it got to be a bit much. This before the end, we were like maybe three two-thirds, I say two-thirds of the movie she watched, and she was like, okay, I've had enough, and she left the room. And then the next morning, she asked me how it ended, and I told her, and she was rightfully traumatized. So maybe there's a little weight to what I'm saying may happen to my daughter or any younger viewers out there who watch it and have that same kind of reaction, like, that was okay. But that was week 3, and that leads me to week number 4. So for week 4, the last week of the challenge, I decided to go with these movies right here, the Heroic Trio and Executioners. I knew that they were related, and I knew that Michelle Yeoh starred in both of these movies. I did not know anything else until I started watching the Heroic Trio, which is actually the movie that I watched for the challenge. And right off the bat, I knew something was off. I'll say that. And when I say off, I really mean on. And it's getting to be confusing what I'm talking about. So let me just tell you. So anyway, the movie starts off. We find out that there are a bunch of babies being kidnapped right out the hospital as they're born, and we see an invisible person has been kidnapping them, and this person is trying to leave the hospital, and they're like way up here in the air. And then a few minutes later, a superhero shows up. It is one of the other young ladies. It is not Maggie. It's not Michelle Yeoh. It is I want to say it's Anita Mui, because I believe that is Maggie Chung down here. So it is this young lady here. She is a superhero, and she's got full on costume, cape. And so I didn't realize I was getting into a superhero movie. And I was like, oh, wait, what is happening here? And she shows up and she's trying to fight the invisible person. And she doesn't have much success, but right away, I know I'm in for a goofy time, because when this superhero shows up, she's walking along power lines, very loose power lines, by the way. It's not like you go to the circus and you see a tightrope walk and the rope kind of barely moves. No, this thing is kind of going all over the place as she's walking on it. And then she takes out a Chinese throwing star, and she throws it, and when it hits the wall, there's blood on it, so she knows it's a real person that is invisible over there. And anyway, I'll not spoil anything other than to say that it turns into a team up superhero movie at some point, and it gets very goofy, funny, and unintentionally and intentionally funny. And then there's lots of martial arts in the movie, so it's a pretty wild ride. And so I had a good time with it. I wouldn't call it a great movie, but it's definitely a fun movie. And it is, I spent half the movie, if not more, maybe even almost the whole movie, going, "What is this? What am I watching?" Because there was just so much happening. And then I just had to watch Executioners, which is the sequel, and it's a little more tame, but still crazy, and still a really good time with three young ladies who are a who are a superhero team, just a martial arts based superhero team. There are some superpowers um, on the bad guy side. Our heroes are pretty much just normal. They have some capabilities. They have some very strong abilities. Um, the funniest thing, I will spoil one thing, is that our superhero who shows up, she's actually called Wonder Woman, and I obviously got a kick out of that. So four movies, uh, various levels of enjoyment. I did enjoy them all. I would say the most enjoyable movie for me, the best movie for me, is The Mist out of the group. Um, the least enjoyable movie, but probably the one that's going to require the most watches, is Dreams. And there you have it. I'm looking forward to February. We have four more movies because we got 4 more weeks in February, and it's going to kick off with favorite foreign director, movie by your favorite foreign director. I've picked out the director. I've not picked out the movie, and it's something I probably not going to have. So we'll be doing that again next week. So first week will be favorite foreign director. The next one, a movie from the 1950s or earlier. I have plenty of those back here. After that is a comfort movie. So a comfort movie, that I'm gonna take that as a movie I've seen before, that I know and I love. And finally, to wrap up February, is going to be a movie starring Courtney Cox. And that is in conjunction with the release of the next Scream movie. So I'm very tempted to be just go through my Scream movies. I don't know if you can see any of them over here. Probably not. But anyway, I'm very tempted to watch a Scream movie again. But I've seen all of those, so I'm going to try to find something else that she's been in. Wish me luck, and I'm going to come back in February, do it all again. If you would like to join the challenge, it's not too late. I'm presuming to speak for Huck right now. And I say it's not too late because you have 4 movies to catch up for the first 4 weeks, or you can just pick up from February and continue on through the year. It's not mandatory that you watch a movie all 52 weeks, but it's fun to try. And I'm going to try to make it all 52 weeks. And I know Huck is having a live stream, probably already passed by the time this shows up on YouTube. Um, but check it out. He's going to have one every month, and hopefully I'll be on at least a couple of them. I'm not able to be on this one. Um, that's all I have, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you've been here before, thanks for hanging out with me again. And I'm gonna say it. I'm because I always forget to say it. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. I catch you on the next one.